22 tips in Siege that 99% of players don't know. Starting off with, you can put a drone next to a Rayora barricade while it's deploying to stop players from being able to open them. This is because as the Rayora barricade is closing, it will be stopped by the drone and won't be able to fully close itself. And since it never fully closes, the activator at the top of the barricade will never start, which means that the defenders will not be able to, no matter how hard they try, open the barricade. This does mean that you as the attackers won't be able to open it either, but this can be really useful to do things like hold off your flank or to shut down a really important defender rotation so that you can get a plant down. Just keep in mind that if the drone is shot, the defenders will be able to open the barricade, and Rayora's barricades are still countered by impacts and explosives, so you have to be wary of that. Speaking of barricades, if you pick Blackbeard, you can go up to a window that has a castle barricade on it and vault through it with your shield. This can allow you to get the upper hand on the defenders because they'll have no idea that you're going to do that, and it can potentially feed you free kills. Just be careful when doing this because if there's traps on the other side, you're gonna get punished. Now, if you need to get an electrified wall open, you can pick Osa, have Osa go up against the reinforced wall and put her Osa shield down, and then you can have Ace throw one of his Selmas onto the wall as well. This will make a hole inside of the reinforced wall that you can use to shoot any utility on the other side, and it will allow you to peek through the reinforcement, which can be nice if you don't have any other way to get the wall open. For example, let's say your Thatcher dies or you run out of any sort of secondary EMPs. Now, when you're on the defense and the enemy team brings a Ying, you can shoot the candelas that they throw into the bomb site as they roll on the ground. You're gonna have to have some quick reaction time though to shoot them before they detonate, but this can be a good way to counter Ying, especially if she doesn't cook her candelas. And another thing that you can do on the defense to catch the attackers off guard is to bring a Tubar out or a mute, and then you can use their gadgets to freeze or jam any claymores outside of a window and run out. This can really punish the attackers because they will not expect you to jump out a window that already has a claymore on it, and you can potentially get a free pick. This also works with air jabs as well, so if the attackers have a nomad air jab outside a window, you can use a mute jammer or Tubar out canister to jump out as well. Now, speaking of being on the defense, if you know the attackers are bringing a Thatcher and you're trying to trick the wall, then you can see Thatcher's EMPs glow through a wall, which can allow you to get a general idea of when the EMP is going to go off. And if you learn the timing of this, you can guess when the Thatcher EMP is going to go off and be able to place your bandit charge down or your Kate Electroclaw down at the perfect time. So start paying attention to this in your rank games and you'll be able to get off your bandit tricks a whole lot easier. And speaking of a blue glow, if you swap enemy team colors to blue and you switch your team colors to red, claymores of the enemy team will be way more obvious because the lasers coming out of the claymores will be a bright blue color, which will blend in with a lot of carpets on a lot of maps a whole lot less. This can give you a pretty good tactical advantage just for swapping one setting. Now, if you want to nitro some attackers through the floor, you can throw a Tubar out canister up onto the ceiling and watch where the footprints are going. You can then throw a nitro cell right in front of the footprints and detonate it, giving you a free pick onto that attacker. And they won't really be able to do anything about it because the attackers inside the canister will be severely slowed, so they won't have time to run away from the nitro cell. Just make for sure that when you throw the nitro cell, you throw it outside of the range of the Zoto canister, because if you throw your nitro cell into the Zoto canister's range, it will just freeze and you won't be able to detonate it. And speaking of Tubar, you can also use his canisters to hide from Glass's scope. You can do this by throwing his canisters right on the floor beneath you and then standing inside of them. And as long as you're inside of the Zoto canister's radius, your body temperature will drop significantly, making you invulnerable to Glass's scope. This is a risky play though, because if the enemies hear you throw a Zoto canister down, they'll probably be able to tell what you're doing. Now, something that many players overlook in ranked is that Vigil can completely counter Grim Bees by activating his ability. If the enemy brings a Grim, you can pick a Vigil and then run through Grim's bees and catch the attackers off guard, and run through Grim's bees and catch the attackers with their pants down, because they won't expect someone to run straight through their bees without getting a single ping on them. This is actually a pretty decent strategy, especially if you expect the enemy team is going to pick Grim. And it's a pretty strong counter to Grim in comparison to Mute, since you don't have to stay in the radius of a gadget. All Vigil has to do is activate his ability and he's invulnerable to it. Now, if you need to make a massive hole in a reinforced wall, but the only hard breacher you brought was Habana or Ace, you can throw a Selma on the top and the bottom of a wall, or you can put 4 Habana X Kairos in the top middle and the bottom middle of a reinforced wall, and it will completely turn the reinforced wall soft, allowing your Sophia, Buck, or really any operator with a shotgun to open up that wall and turn it into a massive breach. Just keep in mind that when you do this, it's going to be extremely slow and it can be very easily tricked by a bandit if the enemy team is doing so. Now, a fun trick that you can do with the new operator Rayora, you can put a Claymore behind one of her barricades and then drive a drone up to it to then raise up the bottom of the barricade and cause the Claymore lasers to go through the barricade. This can be a really funny way to get a free kill on a defender, especially if they're playing close to the gate and they have no idea that you're about to do that. Just make for sure that if you do this Claymore strategy, you set it up early in advance shots, because if you do it while a defender's on the other side of the barricade, they'll most likely be able to hear you placing it and they'll be able to get away. You can also do a really funny trick with Claymores on Maverick by picking him with Claymores and then putting the Claymores in front of a reinforced wall and then putting a Mav hole on the bottom of the wall. This will cause the Claymore to detonate immediately at the base of the wall and kill any bandit tricker that's playing up against it. This could be a really good way to counter a bandit tricker and can give your team the opportunity to potentially get the wall open for free. Now, another way you can kill a bandit tricker that's even stronger is that you can send a teammate below with nades and have them shoot into the wooden ceiling under the bandit tricker or really anyone playing in the bomb site. And then what they can do is throw a frag grenade into the gap that is made by them shooting into the ceiling, and then it will detonate inside the floorboards, getting a kill on anyone above the nade and also destroying any utility above it as well. Now, if you want a less conventional way of tricking a wall, you can pick Aruni, put Aruni gates on the opposite side of a reinforced wall or hatch, and then play right up against the wall or hatch. And then when the attackers throw any utility onto the surface that you're trying to trick, you then just back away from the wall or the hatch, and then it will immediately reactivate the Aruni gate, destroying any utility on the surface. This can be a really good strategy because the attackers can't really do anything about it. They can't burn the Aruni gates until after you've backed up, and the only thing they can really do is use the EMP to disable the gate. Now, if you need to make a lot of vertical holes in a pinch, you can use Fuze to do just that. You can walk up to a wall or a barricade as Fuze, place a cluster charge down, detonate it, and then place a second cluster charge down in the same location and detonate it, and this will make massive holes in the floor of pretty much any map. And this can be useful if your vertical play operator dies, or if you just need to make a lot of vertical holes really quickly. Now, if you find yourself going up against an electrified wall as Thermite, and you don't have any other operators with EMPs left alive, you can walk up next to an electrified wall, find a soft surface nearby like a floor or a ceiling, and then you can place your Thermite charge down onto that surface. And then once you detonate it, it will blow a massive hole into the wall, allowing you to potentially clear any utility on it like bandit charges to then allow you to get the whole wall open, or it can just give you an angle into the bomb site to use to your advantage. Now, if you have a Finka on your team, something that you need to take into account that a lot of people don't is that Finka's surges will cause her teammates to take way more damage from Smoke's canisters. This is because when Finka's surges are active, her teammates start breathing in a lot more heavily. And when they're breathing in more heavily, that means they're breathing in more of Smoke's toxic canisters. Now, if you're a roamer and you get pinged by a Jackal, you can look down to your HUD, and the more pings you have, the closer Jackal is to your location. This is because the amount of pings a defender is given when Jackal scans them is based on the age of their footprints. The more recent the footprints, the more pings Jackal gets. So you can use this to determine roughly the location of Jackal, because if Jackal has a lot of pings on you, that means he's pretty close and he's where you just were a couple of seconds ago. So you can kind of predict where Jackal is going to be coming from, and you can potentially get a kill on him before he's able to get a kill on you. And the final, less conventional tip is that Mira can actually trick walls. The way you can trick reinforced walls with Mira is by placing her windows down right as a Thermite charge or an Ace charge is being deployed. And when you do this, it will destroy any utility on the wall and then obviously place one of your Mira windows there. You can use this to your advantage if you have an extra Mira window in pocket to potentially stop the attackers from being able to get the wall open, or at the very least to slow them down. And then once you've placed the Mira window down fully, you can then shoot the canister on it and throw a nitro outside to potentially try to get a kill on the hard breacher as well. Anyways, that's going to wrap up today's video. Hopefully you found some of these tips useful. If you did, make sure to leave a comment of your favorite tip. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, I make these content just like this twice a week, so go subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter if you don't want to miss the next upload. If you want to watch another video just like this one, a video will be popping up on your screen right now that I'm sure you all enjoy. I'll see you next time, friends, and peace.